I am back. In the last video, so I said that I was going to come back and say more about the thing that I felt like was important to my experience as it pertains to my LSAT score. So I ended up ultimately getting a 159 LSAT. The first score was not a 159. The first score was a 152. And like I was saying in the last video, I had gotten that 152 and I thought that I was hot stuff. I realized that I was not hot stuff when I went to the DC Law Forum. So the story here, I was going around to a lot of tables and I was talking to schools and I was, getting pumped up by some of the schools. Some of the schools were like, oh, that is an amazing score. That is above our average. You could get X amount of scholarship money. So I was starting to gain like momentum as I'm walking around and going to the different tables. Started to hit some of those T14 tables and that momentum slowly started to die down. T14 tables were like, oh, a 152? Okay. Our average here is a 170. Now, quick sidebar, when I initially started studying for the LSAT, I wanted a 170, like really, really badly. At the time that I was studying, logic games were still a part of the exam. So the first time that I tested and when I got that 152, I had tested with logic games. I have cried over logic games. I won't go all into that because if you're testing this year, you do not have to worry about logic games, but logic games had me down and out. Like I cried a couple of times about, anyway. So going around and had my little 152, started talking to those T14 schools that were tabling and they were like, oh, our average is a 170. And the thing to understand is that hitting the average for that law school is what's going to get you some scholarship money. So anyway, what was memorable about the forum to me was actually an experience that at the time I perceived it as negative. So I get to a particular table and this happens to be the table of the school that I accepted an offer to. But at the time, I get to this table and there's no one there. So I'm like, where's the representative? There's nobody here. There's a table right next to them and it was like a religious-based school and they had these big smiles and they're like, oh, she went to the restroom, she'll be right back. And I'm like, okay, I'm just hanging out, awkwardly standing there because they want to tell me about their program, but I'm like not necessarily there for them. So as time goes on, I just start talking with them more. I let them tell me about their school, knowing I didn't really want to hear that information, but I just let them tell me. So the representative that I was waiting for eventually comes back and older woman, she's got these glasses on that are sitting on her nose. She has this glass of water and she came back and she just was kind of looking at me, not up and down, but she wasn't impressed with me. And I was just like, she hasn't even talked to me yet. Why would she not be impressed with me? So I'm starting, I'm huffy because some of these schools have been hyping me up. So I'm like, why isn't she excited to talk to me? So she's like, did you sign in? And I'm like, yes, I did. And she immediately handed me the brochures and things. And I asked the questions that I had been asking at all the tables. And she got right to business. She said, what's your LSAT score? Now I'm still kind of puffed up in the chest. I said, oh yeah, I got a 152. She said, how was your undergrad GPA? Now, me knowing that my undergrad GPA was not strong, I typically would try to throw a but in there, like, but my grad school GPA was a 3.78. Throughout my process, I did not stop talking about that grad school GPA. Any opportunity that I had to hype it up, I hyped it up. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about right now. So she was like, you need a 160. Burst my bubble completely. Yeah, she was like, yeah, our average that we're targeting has changed because we are trying to increase the rankings and increase the, what's the word that she used at that time? The rigor of the program, I think is what she said to me. I may be wrong, but I think that's what she said. And she was like, if your undergrad GPA is not strong and you have a 152, you need to test again and you need to get a 160. And I felt attacked, okay? I was like, what? My 152 that I worked so hard for is not good enough? I was upset. So I'm out of town, I'm in DC, I got back to my hotel, I was telling my friends about it. We're all going off like, oh, how dare she, blah, blah, blah. Did I go back and start studying and decide to take the LSAT again? Yes, I did. And I ended up with a 159. And when I got that 159, it was kind of like in her face, but I will say that when my acceptance letter came in November and her name was at the bottom of it and she had signed it, there was a lesson in there. And it took me a couple of months, but I needed somebody to keep it real the way that she did. I needed somebody to tell me, go back, go harder, you can do better than that, we want you to do better than that. And I did it, and it was she was hard on me, and I'm looking at it like tough love, and we'll see what my relationship is like with her in the fall when things get started. But she told me something I didn't want to hear, but that I needed to hear, and ultimately I'm grateful for it. So yes, my 159 LSAT got me in, and it got me some scholarship money as well. So thank you, unnamed woman who I will allow to remain anonymous.